Hello, I'm Lisa Braggington, one of the plant doctors at Moana Nursery, and today I'd like to talk about what to do in the garden in fall. Fall is actually one of my favorite times of year, and I hear that from many customers that they love being out in the garden this time of year. Temperatures have finally cooled a little bit, and it's a great time to visit what is going on in your garden right now. So it's a great time to take stock in the garden. Fall is also a great time to plant. If any of you have been around nurseries or anywhere people are thinking about plants, you'll hear this phrase over and over again. Fall is the best time to plant. So why is fall considered to be such a great time to plant? Well, definitely the soil being warm after the summer's warmth is a bonus in this case. The plants are also not trying to leaf out at the same time they're trying to get rooted in. So fall planting can be much less stressful for the plants and allow their roots to get a start in the fall. One downside of fall planting is that watering becomes all on you. Basically, when you plant in the fall, you're looking at turning your irrigation system off within a month, usually, maybe 6 weeks, depending on when you're planting. So it's really imperative that you consider what you're going to do to make certain that your plants stay well watered through the winter months. Of course, ideally, we'll have a nice winter that gives us enough precipitation to take care of the plants. But otherwise, do have a plan to bring water to your plants during those dry and sometimes even very warm winter days that can occur. In addition to being a great time to plant trees, shrubs, perennials, and grasses, and vines, all sorts of things in the fall, it's also a great time to think about what you can be doing in your vegetable garden. Many cool season crops, and this covers a lot of different plants: beets, carrots, lettuces to some degree, spinach, cauliflower, cabbage. All of these cool season crops that we often think about first thing in the spring, starting in March in our area, actually do really well with a fall planting in the larger Truckee meadows. In fact, things like cauliflower that can come up against spring's abrupt increase in temperatures tend to develop more fully and produce better crops when planted in the fall. This is also a great time of year to think about planting your garlic bulbs, and onions, leeks, garlic chives, all sorts of those alliums or lily family plants are best planted in the fall. You'll really get the best results from a fall planting. Fall is also the time to be planting your spring blooming bulbs. Tulips, daffodils, hyacinth, all of those beautiful flowers that we enjoy so much for their early color and cheerfulness that they provide in spring need to be planted now. It's actually really sad when customers come into the store wanting to purchase some daffodils or tulips in April because they're seeing them in neighbors' yards, only to realize that they should have been thinking about it in October. Fall bulbs become available usually by September. In the Truckee meadows, best practice is to plant after the soil has cooled, which usually means planting at the end of October. This is a great time of year to add an additional layer of mulch in your garden beds. Mulch does so many things for your plants, but one of the best things it can do through the winter season is work into the soil and improve the soil without any effort on your part. Just the simple effort of spreading a few inches of mulch around your garden beds. That way you don't have to shovel it in or ruin your back, but just lay that mulch out so it can passively improve the soil. Best practice is to put a layer of mulch down when you're doing your garden cleanup in the fall, and then an additional layer of mulch in the winter months after the soil is frozen. Mulch helps to conserve moisture, but also insulates the soil against drastic changes in temperature. It reduces weeds, and as we said, a fall application of mulch is going to just work into the soil and improve it without you ever having to pick up a shovel. Fall is a great time to remember our feathered friends as well. The birds are experiencing some cold nights now as we start to turn on the latter part of the season. They've completed their molting for the most part, and breeding season is months away, but these cold night temperatures really ramp up their need for tasty, high-calorie foods. So incorporating nuts, suet, these things that add quite a bit of protein and fat into their diet will help their winter transition quite a bit. In fact, it can mean the difference between life and death for some of our feathered friends. One advantage of the suet foods that we offer at Moana Nursery is that they're higher in proteins than some of the value choices you can find at your local grocery store or hardware store. Incorporating a lot of protein and fat is very important for birds this time of year. In addition to taking care of the birds that have been tending our feeders all summer long, we actually will see different species of birds come through the area. Adding different foods and paying attention to your feeders again after the summer's heat can be a great way to discover new visitors to your yard. Fall can be the most important time of the year to think about fertilizing your lawn. Our lawns are hungry types of plants, and sometimes during the summer months it just doesn't make sense for our schedule or for the conditions to think about fertilizing. But the fall can be the best way to make certain that your lawn comes back good, solid, and green in the spring. At a minimum, we recommend fertilizing your lawn twice a year, and that would be a spring and a fall application. The fertilizer that we prefer is a slow-release organic, G&B Organics lawn food. This can be applied any time of the year that the soil is not frozen, so it can be used through the summer months. But if you just skipped it because it was too hot to even think about being outside, get that final fertilization on your lawn in the fall, and you'll be pleased with the results come spring. Your lawn may be looking quite tired after the hot summer months. This is a great time of year to go ahead and give it a little refresher in addition to the fertilization that we recommend. You can do this by adding additional grass seed or just top dressing with a compost or additional soil amendment to help encourage that lawn to grow back nice and thick. You can address pest problems in the lawn at this time as well. If you've identified quite a few weeds, the fall can be a good time to still apply an herbicide to knock those weeds out before it becomes a resistant weed seed bed next spring. So, lots of opportunities to help your lawn out in the fall as well. You'll often see some references to mowing your lawn short, and that can apply to some of our customers in the larger Truckee Meadows area. But the primary reason you'll see lawn care guides talking about mowing your lawn shorter than you did in the summer months is to prevent snow mold. By and large, this is not a concern in the Truckee Meadows area, and we recommend maintaining your turf at about 2.5 inches going into the fall. We can all agree, I think, that this is a great time to be out in the yard just looking, taking stock. This is a great time to start a garden journal if you haven't already done so. Basically, any time you haven't started a garden journal is the right time, but fall is such a pleasant time to be outdoors and can really help you identify some of the areas in your yard where you might benefit from adding some plants or changing some things around. You might also be tempted to do a lot of pruning and cleaning up. The cleanup is an easy thing to do in the latter part of the fall, but leaving some things is the best practice for the larger Truckee Meadows. And by that I mean when you're looking at your perennial beds, some of your trees and shrubs, and you feel like you want to really thin them down, try to leave some plant material around on your perennials to protect those plant crowns or the top of the plant from being too exposed to freeze and thaw conditions in the winter months. As far as pruning goes for your trees and shrubs and other plants, a minimal pruning or cleaning up is advisable. If you've identified broken branches or branches that appear to possibly be diseased, this is a good time to get rid of them. You should save most of your major pruning until the leaves have actually come off the trees and the incidence of pest problems is less. Not only is it advisable to prune later in the fall when the leaves have actually fallen because you'll reduce the incidence of possible pest problems, but also because you can identify where you should be pruning much more accurately when you're not dealing with a lot of foliage. And also, especially in the Truckee Meadows area, if you prune too early, you can actually encourage quite a bit of new growth that will be vulnerable to the first really hard frosts and cold temperatures. So as you're out looking at pruning and cleaning up opportunities, this is a really good time to chronicle with the gardening journal best, but otherwise take note of what other pest problems you dealt with during the season. Make certain you know why they happened and have a plan about what you're going to do about possible pest problems you dealt with. This is a great time if you're not sure of what you have going on when you're making your fall sojourn in the garden, to visit a plant doctor if you have any questions about what's going on in your garden. Visit us at Moana Nursery and we can help with your fall garden delights and solving any fall gardening problems that you might have.